Hey guys, my name is Megan and today I've got my favorite and my least favorite books from 2023 for you. Alright, so just before we start, I'm filming this video before Thanksgiving, so this does not include any books that I've read from like Thanksgiving through December, so you may or may not be missing a few favorite books of the year, but that is okay. So today we're talking all about the books that I've read prior to that, so let's go ahead and dive in. So first off, we're going to start off with my least favorite books of the year and get them out of the way, and then we can dive into my favorite books because I'm really excited about this year's crop of favorites. They were some of the best books that I've read ever. My least favorite books are in no particular order. The first of which is Off the Deep End. This was the only DNF that I had for the year, and it was just because it got a little bit boring. I liked where it was going, but it just felt like it was a lot of talking with no real plot development. I think that was my only real critique. I think I might finish this at some point, but for now it's a DNF. Next up was Bear Creek Valentine. This was an interesting book. I really like this series. It's so fun and just weird. However, I felt like this particular book just kind of had an entire plot line that just didn't need to be in the book. And I felt like if you cut that whole chunk out, it would have been a better book. But I mean, it was still okay. I did enjoy it, and I'm really looking forward to what happens in book 3 or when book 3 will be coming out. And the last of my least favorite books I'm going to talk about is Headless. This just felt like a conglomeration of sex scenes that were mushed together into this novella. This is a Headless Horseman romance between Ichabod Crane, Katrina Van Tassel, and like the Headless Horseman. And like the author's doing a full book with these characters. I just felt like this was little snippets of different chapters smushed together, and it just didn't work for me. Now that we're done with my least favorite books, let's move into my favorite books of the year. So the first one I'd like to talk about is one that I really haven't shut up about all year, and that is Bite Me. This is a 600-page behemoth of a book that is urban fantasy romance at its finest. It's got all of the things going on. It's following Blair, who is running from an abusive home life with his aunt and uncle to the town where he grew up because he inherited his parents' house. And what he doesn't remember about this town is that it's filled with supernatural creatures, and our other main character, Richard, is a vampire, and he's kind of like, he's the town fixer, I guess. His new task is watching Blair and making sure that he does not cause problems. The artwork in this is so stunning, and like I just can't with this book. It is just something that I want to melt into this series. I did read the second book, but definitely the book one is my favorite currently. Next up is The Charm Offensive. This was such a freaking great book. This has the demisexual rep that I didn't know I needed for this year on page. So this is following Charlie, who kind of had a meltdown at he created this billion-dollar tech company. He had a meltdown at his office and going on this dating show called Prince Charming. It's kind of like The Bachelor, and it's also following Dev, who happens to be one of the producers on the show, and it's how they develop a friendship, and it kind of develops into more of a relationship, and with Charlie realizing that he may not be as straight as he thought he was. It's got a bisexual main character, it's got a demisexual main character, and it's got all of the things. It's got depression rep, and if you're a fan of like Bachelor or reality dating shows, this is the book to read. It's so good. Okay, so next up I have Spoiler Alert. So this is like a love letter to fandom, and I loved it to pieces. So this is following April, who is a fat girl, and she is a cosplayer. But one day she like enters a contest for her favorite TV show as like doing a costume cosplay contest like on Twitter or something, and she enters and everybody just starts saying the meanest, nastiest things because she is a fat woman doing cosplay. This book also follows Marcus, like an actor on her favorite TV show, and is part of her favorite couple on the show. And Marcus sees all of this blowing up over social media about April in her cosplay, and he asks her out to dinner, just trying to like be nice. They kind of hit it off, but what they don't realize is that both of them are fanfic writers and they are best friends online, and it's kind of this mistaken identity, but also like developing a relationship based around their favorite fandom. And it's just honestly one of the best books I've read. Also, I love the on-page fat rep for a character, as well as having a fat character actually be on the front cover of a book. Fantastic. And next up is another book that I just was blown away by, and that is I'll Be the One. I have a full book review for this one that I will leave linked up above. This book just had my heart and soul. Like, I loved this. This is following Sky Shin, who is a fat Korean American girl. She's also bisexual, and she's been told that she can't sing or dance in, like, she shouldn't do that in public, or, you know, her mom is just, don't do this, you know, very diet culture heavy. But you know what? She decides that she's gonna prove everybody wrong and signs up for a K-pop like survival show. And she does prove everybody wrong, and like she makes some great friends. She finds other queer people to hang out with. And I am so happy this book is out there because it's just so good. Okay, so next up is Two Man Team. This is one of my favorite hockey romance books that I've read all year. It was just so good. This is following Rory and Chris. So Chris happens to be Rory's older brother's best friend, and he was kind of told to watch out for Rory because Rory is a rookie on the same hockey team as him, and Rory has an accident right before one of their games and like breaks his leg, and basically kind of moves in with Chris to have Chris kind of help take care of him, help him get to, you know, appointments and that kind of stuff. And their relationship grows from there. So they obviously start out as friends, like they know each other. Rory's always kind of had a crush on Chris, and Chris doesn't want to ruin his friendship with Rory's brother, but also like he has a crush on his best friend's younger brother. And it's such a good book, and I love it. I love the way that their relationship develops. I love the way that their friendship develops. I love all of the things about these two. They're just so good. Next up is Cherry Picked. This is one of my favorite May Archer books to date. This is another older brother best friend romance. So this is following Hawk Sunday, and he's the youngest of the Sunday brothers. And it's also following Jack, who happens to be one of his oldest brother's best friends, who runs a restaurant, and Hawk works there. And like Jack and Hawk have had this like working relationship, but also a really well-developed friendship. And one day Hawk asks Jack to take his V card, and that sets off a whole chain of events because Jack didn't realize that Hawk had a crush on him, but also he kind of did, and he didn't want to rock the boat with his friendship with Hawk's brother. And like it turns into one of like the most drawn out Pride and Prejudice-esque romances, and also Hawk is a Pride and Prejudice stan and loves Pride and Prejudice, and I love this poor little bookworm so much. And this is honestly one of my favorite romances that I've read to date by May Archer. So next up, I don't know how I could have done this video without having this book on here, or at least one of the books from this series or this author in this. And that is the Eidolon. This is a spin-off of the Tarot Sequence books, which I have a video explaining why you should read the Tarot Sequence, and I will leave that linked up in the corner. You guys should definitely read this book series. It's one of my favorite, and I just... So technically this is the start of a spin-off series from that, but it's also like part of the story that got cut in the third book, which is The Hourglass Throne. This one takes place like directly after and like in the middle of that story. So if you haven't read this one yet, you definitely should read it before the next book comes out. I love these characters. This is following Quinn, Max, and Anna. So this is the start of the Magnus Academy series, following these three characters and them going to school, but also like their adventures that they have that are separate from the main series. And oh boy, did this like reveal a whole lot of things that I had kind of suspected were going on in the background of the Tarot Sequence books, and I really don't want to spoil it for those of you that haven't read this yet. Next up I have Psycho. This is the second book in the Necessary Evil series. This is following August Mulvaney, who is one of the older Mulvaney children, who is an eccentric billionaire professor at a college. All of the Mulvaney children are psychopaths, and their dad raised them as kind of an experiment to see if he could get them to be more vigilante-esque than like straight up serial killers. And this is also following Lucas Blackwell, who used to be a profiler for the FBI. He's also psychic, and he didn't really tell anybody that was why he was so good at doing his job until he came across somebody within the FBI who was also a serial killer and nobody would believe him. And now that person is stalking him as Lucas is taking on a teaching position at the same college as August. And August and Lucas kind of have this weird first meeting because Lucas accidentally grabbed August's hand when he literally knocked into him and had all of these flashes of all of these horrible things that August has done. But also there's just that little bit of intrigue, and these two, their relationship is so ride or die. Like, August was immediately attached to Lucas, and Lucas was a little bit okay, a little bit weary, like you should be. And their relationship is one of my favorite of the Necessary Evil series. And I love these two and just how they go from 0 to 100 real quick for each other, and just, it's fantastic. If you haven't read this series yet, please read it. It's so, so good. Okay, so next up I have another of my more recent favorites, and that is Into the Drowning Deep. This is one I haven't really shut up about since I read it. Really didn't need more than murderous mermaids, science research vessel, murders with these mermaids. Like, this is like the terrifying version of Little Mermaid, because these mermaids will rip your face off, and it's just fantastic. I really love like the science that went into this. Like, it feels very much like you're on a science boat with people explaining things to you, but also like, and it doesn't feel like the science will go over your head. There's a lot of sci-fi that will just go over your head with all of the science-y things, but this doesn't feel like that. Also, murder mermaids. So, okay, and then I think I'm gonna have to call it my favorite book of the year is Summer Sons, because oh my god. I pretty much just lost my mind over this book. This is a book that you need to read if you need a summery Southern Gothic horror book that will literally make you not want to sleep, and just read the entire thing, because it will haunt your dreams. And it's so queer, and just I don't even have words to describe this book, because it was just that gripping. And just, so it's like if the Fast and the Furious had a baby with a Southern Gothic horror novel and threw in some queer longing, and it's honestly one of the best things that I've ever read. If you haven't read it, please do. It's just fantastic, and I have no words. That's all I got for you. It's no words, because it was that good. Alright, so those are some of my favorite books and my least favorite books from 2023. What was your favorite book of the year? What was your least favorite book of the year? Let me know down below. If you guys liked this video, don't forget the like button. If you haven't already but would like to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to follow me on social media for more bookish stuff, check out the links down below. Alrighty, bye guys!